Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Skinny of Skinny's Comics. How you doing,
Hey,
Skinny?
how goes it?
I'm pretty good. I can't complain. Can't complain. I'm just sitting there wearing my Superman snuggie because it's chilly out here in New York. Are you cold over there?
It's starting to get to. I'm over here in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, okay.
I'm over in Eastern or no, Western Washington. East would be towards the land. I get mixed up because I'm from Alabama. I'm used to, the ocean just being like down.
Yeah,
But
I'm used to the ocean being on my right.
but yeah, it's been like about 41 today. I think the low's about like 32, 31,
Yeah,
something like
I
that.
work outside. I'm a construction worker, and I'm cold. And then I come home, and I just can't seem to warm up. Drives my wife crazy. She's a Canadian, so she loves the cold. I'm not a Canadian. I just want to be warm.
I'm
We
I,
don't fight
I'm
about
from
anything except the thermostat.
Yeah, I'm from the super humid South, the land down in Mobile, Alabama, and so I'm actually surprisingly, I love the cold now. I'm like, man, it's so cool and refreshing. I'm not sweating and drowning in my own,
Yeah,
liquids.
yeah. I will never step foot in Florida again if I can avoid it.
Oh man, I know
Florida's just
everybody makes fun of folks who are like, but it's a dry heat, but it's totally true, man. There is a difference
yeah. I
because
lived.
I spent 4 years in Arizona and it would be like 110 degrees, but I would still be running around the desert on hiking trails and
Yep.
stuff. And as long as you stay hydrated, you were fine.
I
But you
lived.
didn't even sweat. It was cool.
I lived 7 years in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and like I told people, it's hot. Just stand in the shade. There's no humidity to transfer the heat. You stand in the shade, you find.
Yeah.
You know, direct sunlight, yeah. But 110 degrees anywhere is hot. But 96 degrees in Albuquerque is nothing. It's a dry heat. So let's get a heated. What were we saying? Get a heated jacket that uses drill batteries. Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking about that because right now it's bearable. After construction in January and February, the clothes do nothing. So Skinny, you're a god. So it's nice to meet. Can you bless my campaign when it launches?
Yeah.
And here we go. Right now, Skinny has a campaign that's active. OdisStein.com. And where is this? This on Kickstarter?
Yeah, this is on Kickstarter. This is just my own link and it's just easier to tell people, hey, go to otisstein.com and say, hey, go to Kickstarter, look up blah, blah, blah.
Let's tell us about Odis Stein. Who's this Odis Stein fellow that I've been hearing about?
Well, Otis Stein's a hardworking man who needed some quick cash, and so he decided that he was going to try moonshining for a bit, and you know, shenanigans happened, and he blew himself up, and his wife put him back together. But sadly, a cult overtook the process and had Otis beat his own wife to death. But in doing so, something happened and the cult lost control. And now Otis roams free to drink beer and terrorize gas stations.
So it's a Frankenstein story, but it's an Odis Stein.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I just got
nods.
that now.
I decided to call it Otis Stein because I was always kind of annoyed with those people who would like correct you when you were talking about Frankenstein and you meant the monster, and you always had that, well, actually,
Yeah.
it's Frankenstein's monster. And you're like, well,
Victor was the
yeah,
monster. Frankenstein was the victim, actually. Yeah. Well,
yeah, like I understand that, but don't kill the mood when we're just sitting
yeah.
around talking about Frankenstein and don't be like, well, Frankenstein actually wasn't the like, dude, come on, chill.
Well, he was a
So I
monster.
called this
He killed
Otis
poor
Stein.
Elizabeth,
So
who didn't
just
do
in
anything.
case, I'll be like, yeah, well, the name's in the monster's name too. So it's there.
Yep.
But
Yep.
Otis Stein is kind of like I don't like comparing things necessarily, but I would say if I had to, he would be a combination of like Ernest P. Worrell, Otis Campbell from Andy Griffith, and Frankenstein. Just that's it.
I like that. It's a good
That's the
combo. I've
magic
never heard
ingredient.
that combo ever before. So you got yourself an original thing.
Yeah, and he's not a hero, and he's not necessarily a villain or an anti-hero. He just is. Like he
Okay.
just has his own little adventures. That's all it
And
is.
is this the first issue or this?
This will be issue 3. I actually have the first 2 issues. If you want to read them without downloading anything, you can check them out on Twitter, on X, at Skinny's Comics. I have them pinned up there. You can read all of them. I'm
And I'll
probably
need
one
to,
of the only few creators who's pro internet piracy, so I like to spread my PDFs and stuff out to the winds.
if yeah, I can't read digital, but if I go to Kickstarter now, will I be able to back and get the first 2 issues on this campaign?
Yes, actually, we have combined issues 1 through 3 into our first trade because my issues are 32 pages each. Normal comics are typically 20 to 24.
Yeah,
With crowdfundings, I want to give people a little bit more bang for their buck. So
yeah. You
we
have
actually have legit 32 interior page stories. So the books generally turn out being 40, 44 pages, somewhere around there, just depending on how much bonus content we throw in there,
that's cool.
like bonus art and stuff like that. And it just depends on what mood I'm in because that's what I love about doing the comics. It's like I'm in full control. Like whatever I want to put in there, I can just, yeah, sure, let's just do
And
it.
we were talking before we went live. You said you have a cereal bowl.
Yeah, I'd have to get up and go get that one. I wasn't prepared for that.
All
But
right,
yeah, we actually have a cereal bowl that I've designed.
that is one of the got to be the most unique piece of swag that I've ever heard on a crowdfunded comic.
Yeah, I'll go
Bowl.
grab it real quick if you'll give me a moment.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll filibuster. So Skinny and I were talking about what to put, and I'm racking my brain for ideas. I will be launching a comic called Heroic Tales probably in January or February. And like Skinny, I want to give people bang for their buck. Why would you back my comic? Well, wonderful art by Renzo Rodriguez. I could show. This is the second page. This is the rough layouts. This is the first page. Pencils before inks. Wonderful artwork. And I was thinking of, that's his symbol. I was thinking of putting that on a pint glass. I have, this. I've made pint glasses before for a private function that I made, and I was really happy with it. And I was thinking maybe I'll make pint glasses with the patriarch symbol on them for part of the campaign. What do you all think of that? And now Skinny is back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay. We put him on the spot by saying, "Let's see this cereal bowl."
Well, I should have thought about it and went ahead and grabbed it, but sadly, I have my beta one, not the official one, because I did change up the font and stuff. But yeah, but these characters are still the same. But I had my artist go through and do kind of Frankenberry, kind of classic cereal monster versions of some of the characters from the book.
Okay.
Like that's Emma, that's the dispatcher. She's just a normal person. I don't know if you can see it all that well. But she's the only one who's not a monster or anything.
Okay.
She's just a normal person covered in toilet paper.
Oh, okay. I thought she was a mummy.
And then there's the Wendigo there.
That's the Wendigo.
Yeah. But
cool.
Yeah, so I've got these cereal bowls that we're selling with our cereal chillers pack.
That is cool. That has got to be the most unique piece of swag I've seen for. Now, is that an additional buy-in, or is that coming?
Yes, I think the cereal chillers I think it's $250 for it, but it comes with a bowl, a metal lunchbox, a custom T-shirt. You get a custom sketch card from our artist Carlos.
That's awesome. That is cool.
And that also comes with the hardcover trade, which will be I think 156 pages. And I don't quote me on that. I'm still putting everything together. So,
okay. And you're the writer, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like me. You don't really draw too well. I put on Twitter.
I don't draw well, but that doesn't stop me from drawing.
Oh yeah, it doesn't stop me from drawing either. Yes. I said Renzo horrible drawings of my characters, and he's like an alchemist. He turns this lead and he turns it to pure gold. You showed me you do like storyboards for your comics.
Yeah, this is actually the notebook that I used for the first issue, but I just went through and I just draw out the entire comic and I put in little notes here and there because I'm a terrible artist. Sometimes I'm like, this is a hand. Uh, yeah, like even this is a great depiction of that. You could see it says
Yeah,
hand,
arm. I love
arm,
that arm. Yeah, in case he thinks it's a snake or something.
and then the final book turned out a lot like this, just a lot better. And that's just the
And
way. I don't
who's your
know.
artist? What's your artist's name?
The artist is Carlos Rodriguez.
Okay.
He's not really too fluent in English, so he doesn't really do uh, streams and stuff like that
Okay.
fairly often. But he's been my best buddy. We've been friends and doing this for the
That's awesome.
past
You guys
four
have a good
years
rapport.
now. What's that?
I said you guys have a good rapport. You work together
Oh
well.
yeah, definitely. Like he's got pretty much creative free reign. Like I don't know. I'm like, if an artist tells me that this would be a better shot than what I put down, he's the expert in my mind. I'm like, okay, you know.
You know,
I know some writers get very
yeah.
they take it personal.
Yeah.
I don't. I want the best product there can be, and I like having him put in his inputs as well.
With Renzo,
Like the back cover for issue 2, I just let him do whatever he wanted. I was like, just do whatever you want to do.
yeah. I just said I think it's time that we start working on the cover. And he says, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I said, "You read the script. Go nuts. The cover's yours." You know. So
Yeah, and him and I go back and forth on that. Not like as in arguing, but we kind of go back and forth on ideas and stuff like that. But we usually don't do the cover until we're finished with the issue because this is one thing that's like one of Carlos's policies. But he says he wants the cover to be the peak performance of his art at that time. So he does the cover last because I mean, you know, he's constantly improving like any artist or creator.
That makes sense.
I've even improved with my crappy drawings over the years.
That's cool. That's cool.
And then we usually kind of come up with something and I try to come up with an idea that's kind of fun that kind of has something to do with the comic, but you know, it's still interesting in its own thing.
So how long have you been doing this now? This is your third issue?
Yeah, this is our third issue. We started up in 2019.
Wow.
With issue 1, but some stuff happened and we had to take basically a year break. Just because of shenanigans. But then, you know, we're back to it. Issue 3's funding now. It's already done. In fact, issue 4 is done too. So we like being ahead of schedule.
Wow. That is, you know, I was just talking with Renzo today. Like, do you want, is it too early to send you the issue 2 script? And he's like, no, send it. Let's read it. Let's, you know, so you can get an idea of what's coming. But it's fun, isn't it? It's talking to
it's a lot of fun, man. Like, you know, currently, we just wrapped up issue 4. The only thing I haven't done for issue 4 is letter it. That's the only thing that needs to be done. Letter? Yeah, I do the lettering. Since like my comics aren't really scripted, they're just me drawing out the comic. I pretty much write all the dialogue and stuff as I'm lettering. I do that too because I've had a little experience as letter or two, and oftentimes when somebody would hand me a script and be like, okay, this is what I want, I have to cut and kind of work with that stuff because it's not always going to fit in that panel.
Right.
So with all the editing that you have to do when it comes to lettering, I'm just like, the hell with it. I'll just write the dialogue as I'm lettering.
So you do Marvel method with yourself.
Yeah, kind of the Marvel way in a sense. I mean, when I'm writing the script, I have in my mind like, hey, you know, this is probably, they're going to be saying something similar to this. But it just depends on how much space I have with the art. Like, there's a lot of contextually sensitive things, I would say.
Yeah. So that brings the question, are you a lifelong comic book guy? Have you been reading comics since you were a wee lad?
Yes, but I'm not the typical comic guy.
Nobody is. We're all wonderfully unique. At least that's what my mommy told me.
But, and I don't mean this as like being a regular comic book guy would be a bad thing, but I'm more of like the dirty comic, grungy comic book guy. I really like the comics that, or not necessarily the comics, because they
Well,
were they
what,
did tend to be kind of trash sometimes, but the stuff like Glenn Danzig was doing with like the Veronica comics. I really liked Hart Fisher, what he was doing when I was growing up. He was all over the news for his Jeffrey Dahmer book, The Unauthorized Biography, where people were trying to sue him. They were like, the victims of Jeffrey Dahmer don't
yeah, I
want you to
remember
put
that.
out this graphic novel. And then it's like you ended up seeing guys like Frank Zappa and them like sitting before Congress talking about, free speech and protecting art and everything like that. And that's kind of the area that I really come from in regards to comics, is using it not necessarily as like a political medium, but just the idea that it is an art form, and it should be, there should be freedom of expression. There shouldn't be any censor happy people. I don't think there should have ever been like a comics code authority, to be honest. Uh,
Well, that was to they did that themselves. Otherwise, the government was going to regulate them the way they regulated Hollywood.
yeah, and I'm against it. And these
Yeah,
guys like even stood up against the government, and that's what I really relate to. So, like I have read traditional comics. Like I really enjoyed Moon Knight. I've read some. The most recent stuff I've read is probably between 2016 and 2018. I tried to get back into comics, and it was just I just couldn't do it, man. Like the main stuff, I tried as hard as I could. I lasted 2 years, and then they
we,
kept canceling books that I liked
right. Restarting them and
and
yeah.
restarting them, and all this other. I really loved one of the things that really excited me was, I know it's kind of controversial to a degree, but that Dark Knight's Metal, that
Oh,
was
really?
awesome.
Really?
I
I
really enjoyed
I was
that.
done with DC by 2015.
Yeah, the Dark Knight's Metal really hit hard for me, and what they did with
The art
the
looked amazing. I'll give it that, but I didn't read it, so I can't comment on if it was good or bad.
yeah, but with the Rebirth and stuff like that, I felt like they did a really good job, and then they just dumped it
And that
because
was
they
I think
had some really cool books. Like they had like this Silencer one, which like she was black, but she wasn't really written black, but she
I
was
remember
like
that
this
because your boy
assassin
Zach,
who could do the silence bubbles and stuff
right?
like that.
Your boy Zach really liked that. He was talking about that comic, and then all of a
It
sudden,
was actually a good comic. I mean,
yeah,
I read it, I bought it. I was like, "Hey, this is awesome. This is cool stuff. This is the stuff that I liked." But that stuff, they kept canceling it. They canceled Silencer. They canceled all the books that I liked to fund more, books that I don't like.
when you said you like the dirty stuff, I thought you were going to bring up like a Melody and Cherry Pop Tart and Omaha the Cat Dancer. Do you know any of those old comics?
Not offhand, but I am
Oh,
familiar with like the early stuff, like with like Fritz the Cat and some of the R. Crumb stuff. I'm more familiar with like the Ralph Bakshi stuff. Bakshi, or is it Bakshi? I always get that mixed up.
you're asking a guy who mispronounced most people who have ever come on my channel's name. So Zap, yeah, Zap was another one. Mr. Natural, the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, American
But
Star.
those wouldn't be comics I would have access to as a kid. But the punk rock ones kind of had a little bit of more circulation amongst the middle schoolers.
Were you a punk rocker?
Uh, I was an outcast for the most part, so yeah, that would probably say punk rocker.
Yeah,
A lot of people think it means you wear leather and studs, but it just means you just don't
you
give a
just
shit
don't-
about authority. You just don't care. You just do what you like to do, and that's what I'm doing with my comics too.
I've been doing Monday music, but I kind of let it fade for a while. But I was showing off all my old punk rock records. And back in the '80s, I was a New York punk, going to CBGBs and seeing all the punk bands and everything.
I
I'm a
just
old school punk rocker, I guess.
in September 2nd, I went and saw Melvins perform with the band Boris from Japan, which they're a band that was inspired by Melvins. And then there's this other guy.
Love the
His,
Melvins. They're probably right now at this moment in my life, they're my favorite band.
Oh, Melvin's Rule, man. And that was such an awesome
And
show too.
I saw them with the band. Now I sound like I'm bragging, but they played with Olive Lawn, and it was in San Diego at the Casbah. And I jumped up on stage, and they took a selfie, like a Polaroid, and he gave it to me. So somewhere I got a picture of the singer of Olive Lawn, myself, and King Buzzo. And it's funny because
Oh
we all
man.
had the same stringy hairstyle at the time, and my friends were like, "Guess who's who?"
Yeah, he still has the poofy
My friends say that I
Jew.
look like him, so at one point we kind of did.
Yeah, he's still got that wild poofy Jew fro going on, and he
Yeah,
still goes out on stage in that big. They don't call it a moo but that's kind of what it is. But he's just, it's
he's
so weird and wild.
a
Like the
wizard.
guitar he was playing on stage when we saw him was completely clear acrylic, and it was just wild.
Yeah, him and Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr. I always say like they are like punk rock wizards because now they come out stage. They wear Jay Mascis has a long Gandalf beard. King Buzzo comes out with this robe with the eyeball on it, and
Yeah.
he looks like a bad wizard, and Jay Mascis looks like the good wizard. I'd love to see them battle each other.
And there was this opening band that was Mr. Flies, but the way it's spelled, it looks like it'd be Mr. Phil's. It's like PHY
I never heard of them.
XZZZ or something. I'd never heard of this guy before, but he looked like that. He looks like Pedro Pascal
Okay,
with the mustache on stage, and he wears like a suit and tie. And it's just him and this drummer, and they blew me away.
oh
Like
really?
they
Just
were,
two-man band?
yeah, it was just a two-man band, but it was just insane. Like I'll link you to him later if you want me to,
Sure.
but like his
You ever listen
music
to
was
a band?
off the wall.
You ever listen to a band called Big Business? It's a two-man band.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Because they were playing with
the Melvins. They played.
Melvins too for a
Yeah,
short period
toured.
too, where they're like, "Yeah, we want to have two drummers. Let's have two drummers." They're
Yeah.
everybody else is like, "That makes no sense." But
I don't know what it is, but like after work, I'm tired and I don't want to fall asleep. You know, I got to commute. So it's just Melvin's Big Business. That's what I've been listening to for like the past 3 weeks.
yeah, and that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from. And it's just stuff like that. It's just the
Now I gotta
wild
get,
and
now I got
crazy
no
stuff.
excuse. I got to get Odis Stein. You know, you listen to some good music.
And there's no political messaging in my books, by the way, like positive or negative. Like I'm there. There's nothing but entertainment in my
There
books.
you go. There you go. What else do you want? You know, guy likes his punk rock and he's making. Are they funny comics? I'm sorry that I don't know your comics.
It's okay. It's a horror comedy.
Okay.
So I mean, it's light horror. I would say probably it's. I do a lot of the influences that go into like the writing of the book would be probably what you wouldn't think, but it's stuff like Chuck Jones and Tex Avery, like their work with like Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes and stuff of that nature. Kind of like Evil Dead in a way, how Sam Raimi was able to kind of like bring that to life. That's kind of the stuff that we're kind of shooting for is, just
Cool.
funny horror comedy stuff.
That sounds awesome. Sounds like a fun comic. Yeah, I got to check it out. You know, I've seen you sent me some art clips and it looks really cool. So,
Yeah, and we've got some T-shirts too, man.
Oh,
Like this one I'm wearing here. We got this one that's available on there, which is kind of like old school Converse style.
yep.
But that's our logo, but then we got and these aren't necessarily connected to the book, but I got this one, which was based on obviously the Doom
Yeah.
cover artwork because I grew up, man, like playing Doom.
That's
I
one of
remember my dad
the
bringing that one home from work on floppy disk, and we had a blast.
that's one of the few video games I actually finished. The
And
first
then,
I was obsessed with. Oh yeah, I love that the Nirvana cover.
yeah, Carlos will not draw penises.
The PP.
That's why that's not there. So I was like, it's okay. I'm not going to fight over it. And then I got this one.
Oh, the AC/DC cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that one? If you want love, if you want blood, we got it. Or,
Well, it says Black Magic and Whiskey on the bottom.
yeah, I'm trying to think. What album is it parodying?
Oh, this one is Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell. It was gonna drive me crazy. I couldn't think of it.
I love that band too.
AC. I'm an electrician, so we have to like AC/DC. It's part of the job.
It's mandatory.
Mandatory. Yeah, and I have this shirt that I wear at work. It says in the same font. It says Tesla with the lightning bolt Edison, and I just wait for people at work to get this. Oh man, that's a great shirt. I was like, if you don't get this shirt, you just shouldn't be an electrician. Thunderstruck was my buddy's favorite song. He would come to work every day blasting Thunderstruck.
I don't know if I have a favorite AC/DC song because, like, every time I think of one, and I'm like, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, but there's also this one. Because, like, I really like songs like Shoot to Thrill, too. That's one of the ones that doesn't get a lot of radio play that I think is really. I think that one was actually in the Iron Man movie, though.
There's three bands that I'm always like, I can't decide which is my favorite song because every song sounds the same, but what a great song it is. It's the Ramones. Every time I pick this is my favorite Ramones song. Then another Ramones song. That's also my favorite Ramones. Oh, yeah. That's also same with AC/DC. That's my favorite AC/DC song until this song is played, and then this is my favorite AC/DC. And the third band is Motorhead. You know, every day I'm like, oh wow, I haven't heard that song in a long time. And I'll play that for like 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, oh, that's my favorite Motorhead song. Those are the three. That's like the triumvirate of great bands, if you ask me.
There's very few bands and artists that I say really capture that, because there's bands that I like where they do a song and I'm like, oh man, this is crap. Why do they do this? This is terrible. I don't like this at all. Tom Petty wouldn't be one of those. That's one of the ones I got to include there, man, because he rocked until he died. Literally, like he was still doing tours and stuff up until his death.
That was a shock when he
died. Was really cool.
Yeah, I forget, he wasn't sick or anything. He just died suddenly, right?
I think so. I mean, it was peaceful, like in his sleep, from what I understand. But I mean, his time just came. But like, he went out doing his thing, man. There's very few rockers who just remained respectful and just kept putting out just solid work.
I remember listening to an interview with why can't I think of his name now? The singer for AC/DC, the original singer, Bon Scott.
Oh yeah, the Jack. His version of the Jack is really good, but that is really explicit.
Yeah, they said, "When are you going to do a love song?" And he said, "We already did. It's called the Jack." Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of that. I also had that spoof movie Spinal Tap.
Oh yeah,
where they kind of made fun of songs like that too, as well, from AC/DC and Bon Scott.
Tom Petty's death derailed the second attempt at reviving King of the Hill.
Yeah, and then the third attempt, what's his name?
I don't. That's the first time hearing about that.
Johnny Hardwick passed away recently too, and I think that put the nail in the coffin for the King of the Hill not making a comeback, was Johnny Hardwick passing away, which he did the voice for Dale Gribble.
Yeah,
and I believe he was one of the writers too. I'm not certain of that, but I think he was.
Yeah, Johnny Hardwick. Yep. So I remember the celebrity death that I still am a big David Bowie fan, and then I just remember waking up and my wife's like, David Bowie died. Apparently he had liver cancer, and I was like, I always thought that was classy that this guy was on the verge of death and kept it private, didn't tell anybody. You know what I mean? And
yeah, even his last album, like what was it? The Lazarus Effect? Lexlar? I thought it was like Lazarus or something.
That was one of the songs, but I think the album was called Black Star. And then
yeah, it was. I'm sorry, but yeah, and another one that Norm Macdonald, he kept his cancer completely secret. Like even his family didn't know, which kind of blew my mind. Like the only people who know were, I think, his agent and him and his doctor.
Yeah, Norm, I think he hinted at it a few times. Like after he died, somebody put on a YouTube collection of him making jokes like, it could be worse. I could be dying of cancer and not telling anybody, and people would laugh uncomfortably,
Yeah.
That was his dry way of saying it,
I think he had the best philosophy, honestly.
Well, what's his
His philosophy was pretty punk too. I mean, he got fired from Saturday Night Live because they wanted him to stop telling OJ jokes. So he immediately went right back and told even more OJ
You
jokes.
don't tell him to stop doing something, you know.
And I think he did like this YouTube uh,
Thank you,
award
John, for
show
watching.
too, where they had him come on and host, and he basically just roasted all of these just YouTubers. He's like, "Who the hell are these people? I
Yeah.
can't even pronounce this name." And then he kept bringing up Hitler and stuff and making it incredibly awkward. It was just really funny, man. Like Norm is just one of those guys.
Dry and
He just
dry, and then, you know, he just
you can't be mad at him either,
no,
no
no,
matter what he's saying. He says it in a way which is just
right. He would take like 10 minutes to tell a joke, and normally when somebody's telling a joke for that long, you're like, would you get to the? But him, I'm laughing at his delivery. He's laughing, and I can listen to him tell a joke for 10 minutes, and then the punchline that got to me is, if anybody else told that same joke, I would have been like, oh man, you just wasted 10 minutes of my
I,
life.
w- I
But he
wonder
got
if him knowing that he had, cancer and was dying of cancer. I wonder if him knowing that just kind of emboldened him to just say whatever the hell came across his mind.
I don't know, but the world. I better not know that I have like 3 months left, because there's going to be an awful lot of people getting slapped. What are
I'm
you going to
gonna
do? Tell me I'm going.
If I know I got 3 months, I'm gonna need a lot of drugs, man.
I'm,
I'm
I'm telling
going out.
I'm telling people exactly what I think.
I'm going out partying. I'm not gonna waste it on people.
Oh yeah, John Portman brought. I love this Clinton killed a guy bit on the View before they life banned him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to get on the View. I would love to get on the View. John's long box on the View. I try not to be political, but on that show, I I I had one run in real life with Whoopi Goldberg. I was an apprentice electrician, and I had to go unload the truck. And I don't know if you know what a U-boat is, but it's you
Yeah.
see it in supermarket. So the building, it was the Hippodrome in Manhattan, and there was I forget what radio station it was, but it was a famous hip hop radio station, and she was there as a guest. I don't know this, and so I had to fill up this U-boat, and I'm pushing it up the ramp because I can't go up the steps, so I'm pushing it up the cargo ramp, and I'm pushing and pushing and pushing, and the ramp's getting steeper as you're going up, and I'm straining and I'm straining and I'm straining, and I just hear, "Excuse me," a woman's voice, and I'm not looking up because I'm behind this thing pushing with
Yeah.
all,
You're like,
yeah,
I gotta get this load on level
and I'm
ground.
3/4 of the way up the ramp. And it's like, I need you to move. So I just yelled. I was like, "Do you see what I'm doing? Do you see what I'm doing? Can't you wait 2 more minutes? I'm almost, but I need to get down the ramp." And I just let loose. I was like, "I don't effing care what you got to do. Can't you?" I said, "Are you stupid?" I use the R word. Are you R?
Yeah.
You see what
That's
I'm
my
doing?
favorite word.
And then I look and it's Whoopi Goldberg, and I go, "Yeah, you love the common man, And it was all these guys like, "Just escort her. The steps are right over there. Just go down the steps, you fat cow." So I had to push this up. I mean, that sweat was pouring off me. I finally made it to the stable
What do
portion.
people
And I just
see
looked at
is
her. I
like,
was like, What? You're that arrogant? Can't you see what I'm doing?
I
You
mean,
know,
is she gonna roll down the ramp?
you know,
She can't just roll down the stairs.
I know, but that's my, and I would love to get on the View and tell her that story to her face, because of course she dismissed it within 20, or in her mind, this jerk guy, yeah, I should get him fired. Yeah, get me fired.
Yeah, a lot of celebrities tend to be total jerks
Yeah, that's why whenever
once you
somebody tells
realize
me that
that.
like they met somebody I like, I get like, "Oh no, please." Okay, that
Oh,
was
please don't tell me he was crappy.
yeah, I know. Yeah,
There's a couple of them that I really like that I've never heard any bad experiences about, but it was Keanu Reeves was
everybody,
one of them.
everybody. I don't care if you're progressive, conservative, whatever. Everybody likes Keanu Reeves. He's one of the few actors I really like.
But you don't hear horror stories about Keanu throwing a fit. Like there was that singer recently I saw. I forget. I don't remember her name, but apparently she won a GMA or whatever. I don't know what awards they have for people now. But I guess she got mad because, like, on her flight home, she was trying to sing on the flight, and people complained about it. So the flight attendants were like, "Hey, ma'am, can you shut up?"
Yeah, shut
Like,
the up. People are trying to sleep.
yeah, and apparently it was a big deal. So
Right.
I'm like, see, that's the mentality that a lot of these celebrities have, though. It's like they exist on a higher plane than us, man.
Right.
Like,
Again, I was an electrician at Shea Stadium, and we were wiring up the stage for Beyonce's concert, and Beyonce wanted to come 2 days before the concert to look at the stage effects to like approve everything, which I totally understand. That's very professional, but nobody could be in Shea Stadium, just her and like her manager and I guess the affiliate. So everybody had to go home because God forbid Beyonce looks at a common person or a common person looks at her. So if you work for Shea Stadium, I mean, I guess we should be happy you got the day off with pay. But because of me, the electricians, we have it in our contract. We don't go home. So we went to work, but we were like, we had to sit. We had a nice place to hang out. We had to sit there all day long and not leave because, Beyonce might see a normal, common person.
she might like see a white man and catch the white disease that got Michael Jackson or
Maybe
something
she would see
crazy.
this wonderful beard, and that would be the end of Jay-Z. Yeah, I don't know. I
Oh
could,
crap, he might call the cops. I don't know why they would be fearful. I guess,
not fearful. She just doesn't want to be annoyed by common people.
yeah.
We're peasants. Once you join the Illuminati, the regular people are just
Well,
pests.
some people do go bonkers about celebrities, so like stalkerish kind of
So what are you gonna
like
do?
teenage girls like going after the Beatles. I mean, there's tons of footage of that. Like
Yeah.
that, they can go crazy sometimes. So I
What
do
are you gonna do
understand.
when your comic when this campaign you hit $10 million and now you making it and what's gonna be your extravagance?
Uh,
Are you gonna hate the common man?
no, I'm still the common man. I'll just be the common man with money.
I'll just be the common man who doesn't have to go to the construction site every day anymore.
No, I'll probably still work, man. I gotta keep moving. I don't
Well,
like.
I would make comics. I would have 4 or 5 comics. I would still do comics, but I don't want to do construction.
I would still probably have to have something like part time though, just to give me a reason to get out of the house once in a
I
while.
say that to
'Cause
people. My brother just retired, and I'm like, this guy never had any hobbies. What are you gonna do now? You're gonna lay in bed till 11, watch TV. You got to have something to do. If I retire, I could retire in a couple of years, like 2 or 3 years. I want to write comics. I want to work with Renzo. I want to
Yeah.
make comics. Even if they don't make any money, that's what I want to do. You know,
But yeah, if I ever got super famous or made it big, I would kind of hope I wouldn't be recognizable. Like I would kind of just like want to be left alone. Like if somebody like approached me, like even now when like sometimes I would have copies of my book. I don't anymore because I sold out of them or gave them all away. But sometimes like I would meet somebody cool, like one of the gas station attendants. I would notice they had like a Batman tattoo or something. I'd be like, "Hey, you like comic books?" And like anytime like they would come back to me later to be like, "Hey, you didn't sign this. Can you sign it for me?"
that's cool. That's cool.
It still feels really weird, but I don't ever want to get mad at somebody for something like that. I'm like, "Yeah, sure,
That's
I'll
cool.
ruin your book for you."
Yeah, I met John Romita Sr. and I brought my copy of Amazing Spider-Man 39, which was his first comp. It's like $1,000 comic book. So I'm at his house, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll autograph it." His next door neighbor was a guy I work with. He's like, "Yeah," and he takes it and he curls it up like this and walks. I'm like, you can't tell John Romita Sr. not to curl up your Spider-Man comic book,
Oh
And then
god.
he opened it up and he signed it and he gave it back to me. And as he's talking to me, I'm looking at it to see if it's creased.
You're like, "Oh crap." Like he just like that would actually make a funny comic bit to a degree where, he just walks off and, maybe he drops it in some water or some cat poop or something like that. Like, all this crap that, and then you get your comic back and it's
Thank
just,
you. Thank you. You keep it.
Completely worthless now, but it's got a signature.
Yeah.
But luckily, your comic book was okay, I'm
Yeah, it
assuming.
was fine. He was fine, but I couldn't help but be nervous. And you can't say anything. Hey, Johnny, it's my comic. Hey, knock it off. Come curl that thing up.
He's probably thinking to himself, like, because especially those guys, they were throwing away so much artwork and stuff back in the day that, a lot of that stuff was just trash to them to a certain degree. Like,
You know what he showed me? He has binders, 3-ring binders, and that's how Marvel stored the original comics. So he was like, "Oh yeah, look," and he opened it up, and there's Amazing Fantasy 15. There's Spider-Man #1, but the actual comics, but they had hole punches in them, so they were in binders, and that's what he would put on his shelves. I'm like, wow, you just made a $65,000 comic book worthless,
yeah. But there's,
That's what they did
you look back, there's reports of like a lot of people getting a lot of this art just going through dumpsters when they were just throwing this crap away, just clearing out storage back in the 90s.
Yep. What's Chuck Dixon was telling a story that he traded art with I can't remember the gentleman's name, but an artist in England. So Chuck Dixon had some original art from American artists when he was a kid, and he was writing to a guy who and he said, just send me anybody. I don't even know. And the guy would he would find out where these artists lived, and he would dumpster dive and pull out the art, send it to Chuck Dixon. So Chuck Dixon's like, oh, I got this art out of somebody's garbage. Oh, but Chuck Dixon now has it, and it's probably worth a fortune now. There's probably I'm trying to think of famous English artists like Alan Davis or something like that, some old 2000 AD artwork.
It's crazy how little care they really put into preserving a lot of this stuff early on. There's a lot of issues that are just completely lost to history, like, especially because the kids didn't take care of them either.
Supposedly, Steve Ditko had, when he died, the people who went into his office, they probably robbed that office blind because he had original Spider-Man art that he wouldn't sell. That they said that he was using original Spider-Man artwork from like the first 30 issues of Spider. He was wiping his paintbrushes and pens on it. That's how little regard he had for it. This is millions of dollars worth of art that, to quote Indiana Jones, this should be in a museum. It's just, using it to wipe down a brush.
That's why I like that we're now in a digital age. Like, I do prefer physical comics myself.
Yeah,
I do. I don't like reading digital, but I like the idea of the digital because now there's a way to preserve a lot of this stuff. I mean, you may not be able to preserve the actual pages itself, but at least you can preserve the content of what it was supposed to be.
I'm building my own museum of comics right there. That's the room right behind me. That's all my comics preserved. Some of those comics have been in there. Well, not there, but I've had them for over 40 years, So I'm not worried about mine. I'll have a hard check in this chair, and then my wife and her new boyfriend will sell all that stuff.
Yeah. I don't have it currently. It's in Alabama. I still haven't went back and retrieved it out of storage. I should because I'm paying for it. But but I just have my own little collection, and it's nothing crazy. It's just a couple hundred books, but it's mainly just my current pulls and just a bunch of dollar bin stuff that I would go nuts for.
Yeah.
But I would actually store my stuff in the legal size filing cabinets since I was able to stack 2 books in those shelves. So I was able to actually fit like a long box and a half in those things.
John's going to come on my channel. I just wanted to say hello. Thank you for watching. Yeah, I wanted to do that. I wanted to get cabinets and store everything, but I got too many comic books, so I did the next best thing. Build the wooden shelves and the long boxes. This is funny. I don't know if you'll get a kick out of this, but you could see some of these brown boxes.
Yeah,
those boxes. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm 55 years old, so those boxes have got to be 40 years old, and they look like they're about to fall apart. But they are the strongest comic book long boxes that I have. You know, every once in a while, somebody be like, "Look at these brown boxes." I'm like, "Those are tough, man." I got new boxes that I'll pull them. They just rip to shreds. You know,
Yeah, I haven't had luck with a lot of new stuff lately. Everything these
everything
days
sucks.
you buy seems to be
Get
engineered
off
to
my
like
lawn.
break immediately.
Yeah, me and you, we're old men now complaining. Man, it's not
I,
like it used to be.
I will say, since doing my comics, in my little kind of storage slash office space for my books, I did get some of those BCW, the plastic
Oh, how are
long
they?
boxes, and they're actually pretty good. I like them for the most part.
And how high can you stack them?
It says you can probably no more than 4, which
Okay,
is about what I would do too.
I wanted to get those, but I need 150 boxes. It's probably a little expensive.
Yeah,
What would I do?
that
So I got the wooden shelves. No, no boxes resting on any other box. Forgive my cough. So
I'm sure they may have some kind of bulk discount too, where you're because I mean, the average person's not buying 150
yeah,
units.
well, I'm happy. It was a pain in the neck to move them from Queens to here. I don't want to move them again.
It's kind of why my collection is still in Alabama right now. I'm like, oh, because like the way it's set up, I just pull out the drawers, and then the file cabinet that I have is like from the 50s, so it's like hardened steel or whatever, but it's heavy as hell. But like the drawers themselves act as like long boxes too,
Oh,
because there's
cool.
an actual handle on the
They
other
were
side where
fire
I just
because it was
pull
made.
out the drawer and I'm good to go. And then wherever I get, I just pop it back in there. And
So is Otis Stein the only comic you're working on? Do you have a couple of titles, or are you working on?
currently, yeah, Odis Stein is the only title I'm working on. Well, it's the only character I'm working on. I am currently putting together an anthology of self-contained stories about Otis, and this is where we get more into trauma territory, where it just goes crazy. You know, I've got a story where Otis saves a goth chick from a infantile zombie, which he proceeds to eat the zombie, and the girl thanks him by bringing him home to dinner, in which case Otis has to poop. But, I always thought, what happens to a zombie, like, if you eat it? So we get to find out in that story.
That and other fascinating facts.
Yeah, just random crazy funny stories. Like, I wanted Otis to find a poop monster, so that's in there. I've got a story about a trans succubus.
That's interesting and topical. So there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah. There you go. A trans succubus. I don't know why, but that's amusing me more than I thought it would.
I've got this one where if you know the Pepe frog,
Yeah,
I've done. One of my friends did like a joke cover where he did Otis as like a Pepe, and he called it Otis Friend. So I actually got with Eric Kent, and he's done up a little illustrated story that we're adding to that anthology of Otis Friend, where it's kind of like a kid's book, but it's not.
okay.
It's like a meme book. That's what we'll call it.
Well, that sounds
Uh,
cool. That sounds pretty creative.
so I've got that rolling, and right now I've got Carlos, the artist for our books. He's working on a Halloween Otis themed story, which we're putting together a holiday special book in which I'm going to have like there will be a Halloween story, a Christmas story, uh, like maybe an Easter story and a 4th of July. Like it'll be covering the whole year.
Okay, that's cool.
So we're working on that as well. And then once we're done with the Halloween part of that story, I'm going to get back to work on issue 5.
And do you have is this an ongoing, or do you have an end for this?
For Otis, no, there's no end.
There's no end.
It's just
Otis,
it's going to keep going.
Otis is forever. Otis is eternal, ladies and gentlemen. That's great.
I mean, I even have it written somewhere that I'm going to have put in my will. Like when I die, like my comics are going public domain
Okay.
immediately. I want if there's fans of it, if I happen to like build a fan base, and people like it, and then I die. I want them to be able to continue it. I don't want some company like Fox or, well, Fox doesn't exist anymore, do they? It's just Disney now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want Disney coming down to, like, you know,
Isn't it?
I want it to go to the fans, because that's where I believe IPs really should go to.
Isn't it?
Like,
I think there's something. I can't think of the right word. Sacrilegious is all that pops into my mind. That Jack Kirby didn't want to have to do anything with Disney. He was like, I don't want to work for Disney. And now posthumously, Disney is nominating Jack Kirby as like a what do they call him? Like a master artist or something like that. And then they're putting a plaque of him. You know, if Jack Kirby's spitting in his grave all the way to Subterranea right now.
It just reminds me of, like, when you see a bunch of vultures, like, nibbling at a corpse out in this safari. That's just all I see when I see a lot of that stuff. Like, I loved a lot of these properties, but to a certain degree, it makes me a little sick, man. I don't want to feel that way about comic books, but, like, it's like
I still love Superman, you know what I mean? And
like I still love all the stuff that I grew up with. It's just it's kind of sad that the current age doesn't get to have cool stories,
right.
Or at least from the mainstream.
But that's like a meme now. They're like, oh yeah, you know, your favorite book, comic, cartoon, whatever, is getting a live action remake. Bad news is it's 2023.
Yeah.
You know. Which is why I'm so excited about crowdfunding stuff. You know, the fact that you're making your own comics, and you know, John Delarose is making his own comics. Everybody's making their own comics. You know, so
yeah.
You know, unfortunately I don't have. I missed Odis Stein until you reached out and we started talking. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I just feel bad.
I'm terrible at marketing. I'm just a dude.
Well, let me ask you: Do you enjoy this? Do you enjoy coming on other people's channels? Because I know some people say it's a chore, and I can understand that.
I can understand it being a chore, but I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy coming on. I mean, you've been a pleasure to talk to.
Thank you. I wasn't fishing for a compliment. I know that some people they'll say beforehand, I wish I didn't have to do this. You know what I mean?
I've kind of done that run before with previous campaigns and to help other people with their campaigns as well. And doing all of those streams where you're like, oh, I'm going here next. And then tomorrow I got to go on here. And it is exhausting. It will wear on you. Like,
yeah. I imagine it's like that Ben Affleck meme when he's just miserable because he was on that junket.
Yeah. Well, your brain is a muscle, man. So, like, when you're having to sit here and think too much or talk too much, especially about the same thing, like, you're going to get just mentally exhausted. You're just going to, if you're not careful, you'll reach the zombie state where you're just sitting there with the 1,000-yard stare watching Teletubbies on the TV. Like, shilling your book is a laborious, exhausting thing. So if anybody tells you, like, hey, you know, I just don't like streams too much, don't ever take that 100% personal against you. It just may be that they've just had a really bad time.
Yeah,
in the past.
I've been reaching out to a lot of big names and stuff. Like I just figure, you know, why not? What are they gonna do? Say no? You know?
Yeah.
People said no. So I'm amazed. I've been getting a lot of good big names. And one guy we've been going back and forth for Eve. I'm not going to mention names. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But he basically said what you said. I'm tired of telling the same old stories. What's your angle? And I was like, what's my angle? I don't know. I just make stuff up as I go along. You come on here. Next thing you know, we're talking about, you know, the Melvins. I didn't know we were going to talk about the Melvins. You know what I mean? What's my angle? My angle is I'm having a conversation with you. That's why I call my talks conversations.
Yeah.
Because I know where we're going. Do you schedule a conversation when your buddy comes over?
And sometimes it does feel like an interrogation when you come on to certain streams and they're like, there's this one guy I did a couple of years ago and it felt like an interrogation. And I was just like, okay. And I was trying to be on my best behavior.
Yeah.
Later, I guess he spurred because somebody else was quote unquote a little drunk during their stream or something. I'm like, what? So, I mean, is he not 21?
You don't know, maybe I've been drunk. I could be drunk right now. We don't know.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's no telling. I could be high on methamphetamines right now. We never know.
I wouldn't bet against it.
But no, that's not really the thing. But it's
I'm joking.
just some people have like there are some streamers. This guy doesn't do it anymore, from what I understand. But I don't want to bring up his name
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah.
I
Well,
don't want to
we're not here to
summon him
call out
like
people.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
But like that's just that's all they exist to do is complain about weird things. They just want to nitpick, and they have this unrealistic expectation of professionalism as well, like where people aren't allowed to make mistakes. And
Oh,
like
but
I've
we
had
can't
it
make.
too.
I make
They're
mistakes.
like I've been told like I wasn't professional because I told somebody to f themselves after they tried to shove some kind of political crap down my throat. And I'm like, where does it say professional and independent? Like I don't answer to Marvel. I don't answer to DC. Why are you asking me to be a professional? That's counterproductive to what I'm doing. I'm counterculture. I'm supposed to be counter to what the mainstream and ideas are. I'm here to break the rules, man. I'm not here to abide by them.
You're a rebel, Dottie, a loner.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't make a habit of telling fans of my book, to f off or anything.
No,
But
no,
there are those weird people on Twitter. They're like, you don't have any gay characters or something like that. And so I decided to troll back. I'm like, gay doesn't exist in my comics.
I'm the god of my universe.
Or yeah, exactly. It's like stop trying to pressure me on dumb, stupid stuff, man. Just if you read the books and enjoy them, I'm very happy. And if you read the books and you don't enjoy them, really happy with your
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for trying me out. Yeah, that's that.
Thank you for trying me out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pressure you into it. Yeah, I know my book isn't made for everyone, but I think a lot of people tend to like it.
Yeah, you got your fans here. I mean, look at this chat. Look at this. Skinny is God. There you go.
Yeah, sizzle. Well,
Skinny
Tony,
was the ballsiest franchise in all of independent comics. Sizzle. Is this a
yeah.
private joke? Skinny is. Yeah.
Oh, well, the sizzle thing, he's actually one of my artists.
Oh,
And
Sizzle is a person.
yeah.
How you doing, Sizzle?
But he he said something or posted something on Instagram. I had this random gay cowboy from Tennessee suddenly tagging me on stuff on Twitter like Skinny's comic employs racists and homophobes, and yeah, I'm like, what
That
in the
means you made
world?
it, buddy. I'm waiting for my haters. Where are my haters? Come on, somebody start hating
But
on me. That means I made it.
I mean, I understand that you can monetize that, but I'm here to play the long game. I'm not here to necessarily. I don't know. I don't like the idea of that necessarily because you run into this trap where like you always need a villain because like nothing lasts forever. Like when this gay cowboy of mine, goes away, he rides off into his gay sunset to Brokeback Mountain or whatever he does, I'll be at a disadvantage because I have, built my brand and monetization on attacking this gay cowboy to some degree, being outraged and
Was
fighting
that
back over it.
skit?
So now I'm struggling to look for somebody else to like victimize
You
me.
want to fight? You want to have? We'll have Twitter drama. You want to fight? What do you want to fight about? East
Yeah.
Coast West Coast rivalry.
But I don't know. I feel like a lot of that stuff does take away from the art itself too. And that's the one thing
I
that I try
understand.
not to
I'm
do.
goofing with you, but I see. Like all this Eric July nonsense. Have you been seeing all this stuff?
Dude, I'm going to be honest. I've muted most of those words associated with like, I don't have any beef with Eric or anything like that. I think it's a little weird that he would like go out of his way, like, with, I could be wrong, so you can correct me because I try to avoid a lot of this stuff because I find it's counterproductive. But I saw somewhere where I guess he was getting mad and hitting and striking people for quote unquote reviewing pirated copies of his books or whatever, to a degree where I guess he was saying that people have to prove that they purchased the book. And I saw that, and That made my stomach churn, man. I was like,
You said before we went
oh,
on that you're pro pirating.
I'm pro piracy. I believe in this free spread of information, man. Like, I know not everybody's gonna buy my book, but I'm not in it for the money either. I'm in it because I enjoy making these books. So the more people who read it, the better for me, at least. But people are gonna do that regardless. You, I don't understand fighting against it. Like, why would you be mad that people want to read your product? Are you
Well,
mad because you're not milking out those few cents?
the more
Or
eyeballs on your comic, the better.
yeah,
But
and
I don't,
there's
if I want Odis Stein, if it's good enough for me to sit in my chair and read it, then to me it's good enough to pay for. And if it's not good enough to, you know what I mean? Like if I don't want
yeah,
to pay for it, then I don't want to read it because
and the people who would want to support it are going to support it regardless. Those
right,
people don't go away just because I throw free PDFs around. They don't go away because they like what I'm doing and they want to
I was gonna
support
say the
that.
other mind is like I listen to Pandora. You know, I get free Pandora and I listen to it at work. I must have spent $500 in the past 2 years buying albums from bands that I didn't know
Yeah.
existed because I'm listening to free Pandora. So that's what I'm saying. I'm of two minds. Like,
Yeah, and I don't want that limitation to be there, at least for digital.
you know, so like
As for physical books, I don't do reprints. So like once this
oh, yeah.
campaign for issue 3 is done, like those variant covers that I have, I'll sell prints of them later, like just the print itself, but there
So
will be
like
no
the exclusivity of it all.
yeah, it's just that one run of those covers and then
You were,
that's it.
you were totally punk rock then. Yeah. You got the
I
whole
kind of do it like the Melvins, man, like straight up.
yeah, I got some Melvins 45s that people are like, wow, I've never even seen that. Yeah, because they were a nobody band at one point. They made these little crummy 45s. They just came in a plastic bag. They didn't even have
Yeah, they
sleeves.
basically make everything themselves, from what I understand, like their T-shirts and everything. They have their own printers at the house, and it's wild how much. And they're one of my big inspirations,
Yeah,
man. I just,
I love that band. You know, you're the only other person besides my personal circle of friends that I know in person that is a Melvins fan. So yeah,
yeah, we're few and
so,
far between.
so that
I
means
made my wife one though, because I took her to that Melvin show, and she looked at me afterwards, like the day after. She was like, "That was like a religious experience," and I was like, "Yeah, it really is." Like,
it,
I don't know, they had. I don't mean that in like a very and but it kind of is. It's not like other bands that you would
no,
see
and
perform.
every album is completely different. It's like they reinvent themselves with every band.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I always say, how could it possibly be a heavier band than the Melvins? And then they put out another album and it's heavier. And I'm like, that's it. This is the bottom line. It can never get heavier. And then Stag comes out and it's heavier than Houdini, you know. And then Stoner Witch comes out and it's heavier than Stag. I'm like, wow.
And
How,
then the next thing you know, uh what's it? Five-legged dog comes out and it's like, "Hey, we're doing this new thing. We're trying out acoustics." And it's the same thing just with an acoustic guitar, which I don't know, I just always found that hilarious. Like
yeah,
Buzz was like, "I want to try acoustic stuff," but he really doesn't necessarily play acoustic music. He just plays the same thing on an acoustic guitar.
yeah, they're this, and I love when they do covers. Have you heard them do the Beatles? I want to hold your hand.
Yeah,
I
my
love
favorite one is from it's one of their more recent albums, but it's called Working with God. But
yeah,
they
that's a
do the
B
Beach
side.
Boys Run Around, but it's
I
F around.
yeah. I was just listening to that today in my car.
And they played Bullhead at the album that or at the show that I seen, because their shows are like albums. They always just play they pick an album and they're like, "We're going on tour and we're just going to play this
When
album."
that album came out, I heard Zodiac on some college station when Bullhead just came out, and I was like, "This is my band." You know, I remember at work playing Zodiac for friends. I'm like, "Oh, you like music? Have you put this on?" You know, because now everybody's got their phones. You could just summon up whatever music. And I remember we were working in the basement of a building, and he just stopped and he didn't move until Zodiac was over, and he goes, "I love this band."
Yeah. And I feel like there's there's a gap there that didn't always be there between like a lot of these kind of alternative bands and artists in comic books too. Because like even back in the '90s, you had Glenn Danzig doing his thing, and then Hart Fisher, and then there were a lot more kind of punk stuff going on in the comics industry. But these days, it's not a lot. It's sort of a lot of weird stuff and a lot of just blatant rip-offs. Uh, but I feel like when I like they used to have it like at least back when I was growing up and some of the shows that I would go and see, they would have guys like on the side hustling, little kind of indie comics or whatever they were making. And it just I guess maybe the music scene just sucks now. But
Yeah,
that's the avenue that I'm trying
I,
to go down is like hooking up with other bands and stuff to try to kind of find.
just like I look for indie comics and things. I used to be so into the indie bands and get 45s. Like I at one point I was replacing all my records with CDs, and I'm still mad that I did that. And but there's a lot of records I could never replace because they never made them into CDs. They're such tiny little bands. But I don't have that energy to look for these bands anymore. I used to go every
Yeah.
weekend, check out local bands. You know,
But like I am trying, I'm working with a punk band based out of Tennessee, American Thought Criminals. I'm actually putting together a crossover comic uh, with their band crossing over with Otis, which
cool.
is going to kind of be like it's going to kind of be played out like kind of the old Scooby Doo ones when they would have the celebrity guests.
Yeah.
What was that series called? Was that the new Scooby Doo Adventures or something?
But
I don't know.
would show
There's
up.
so many different spin-offs and series for Scooby Doo. It's hard for me to like fathom. But when they used to do the celebrity guests and stuff, and that's kind of what we're aiming for. So I was like, I'm getting in with this band, and I've had some artwork commissioned for them to use for their music, like
Have
pictures
them do an
or
Odis
singles
Stein
and stuff.
song
Yeah.
that you release with your comic.
Well, there is a song that people will be able to get that was actually done by Doug Garrett. That's on one of our trailers. I want to be able to make like a vinyl record at some point and have that on there.
That would be awesome. That would be
But
so
yeah,
cool.
like
You got some good swag. Cereal bowl, a vinyl record. That's some cool stuff.
I wish I had the vinyl record. That one's in the works, but it'll be a thing at some point.
All right. I always try to wrap these up after an hour because I find, a week from now, nobody's going to click on a 6-hour video. So anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to say before we go?
Just buy my comic at odisstein.com. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I gotta check this out. I like, we have great music tastes together, so I know I'll probably enjoy your comics there.
Yeah, and the
I feel
links
bad
to
that I
the
didn't
first
know
two
about it.
issues are on the campaign page as well for free.
Yeah, I'll check it out right after this. I gotta finish my dinner and then I'll buy some Odis Stein. But thanks a lot, buddy. That was great. That was a lot of fun. Let me come on back. I'd love to talk to you again. I could talk to you about music all night long. That was a blast.
Yeah.
You're the only other person who likes the Melvins that except for
that. That's sad, but I also feel honored because for me too, it's like nobody else I know really likes the Melvins.
I saw the Melvins introduced me to Nirvana. I went to go see the Melvins, and Nirvana was the headlining act. And then when they finished the tour, it switched. It was Nirvana was opening up for the Melvins, and then Nirvana hit it, and then it was the other way around when they finished the tour. Poor Melvins, they got demoted in their own tour.
Well, I feel like they're still here, so I think everything worked out.
They got the last laugh, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
All right, but thanks a lot, everybody. Good luck with Odis Stein. Check it out, Odis Stein at odisstein.com. All right, bye.